Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to take a look at troubleshooting some issues with purchase orders as they relate to non-stock items in Acumatica. Let's take a look at our agenda. So here is our scenario, and it's pretty simple. We create a purchase order for a non-stock item, but when we receive the bill, we don't associate that bill with the purchase order. Well, Acumatica has a very cool function which allows us to close that purchase order line without having to receive the bill against the purchase order. Now understand, this only works for non-stock items, however. If it's stock items, we have a whole different process for that. So let's take a look at this scenario in Acumatica. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into inventory and look at our non-stock items. And it doesn't matter which one I look at, but I'm going to look at accommodate here as the item code. And I just want you to know there's an option here for this non-stock item to require a receipt. And notice that it's not checked. So when this is not checked, not only do we not have to do a receipt in the purchase order, we actually can't do a receipt in the purchase order. It won't allow us to do so. Let's go create our purchase order. We'll create our scenario. So I'm going to create a new purchase order. We'll select our vendor. And we'll add our line. Okay, so our inventory item that we're going to do is that non-stock item, accommodate. And so I'll just do $100. Go ahead and pull that through. Now, a couple of things we want to look at here. Notice our account is 63,200. This is our travel account. I want to make sure that I don't have a project associated with this. So now I can take it off hold. I can save it. It's pending approval, so we'll go ahead and approve it. So now it's open. So our status of our purchase order is open. And just to show you that we can't do a receipt against it, I'll go ahead and try to do that. And it'll tell us there aren't any lines that can be received. So normally we would go enter the bill in accounts payable anyway. So we'll go into payables and we'll enter a new bill. And we'll pick our vendor. We'll enter in our vendor reference number, go the lines, and we have this bill and we know it's $100, and the GL account number is travel. So we'll just accept that. Sure, I have my no project setting here. So go ahead and take that off hold and release it. Okay, let's take a look at our purchase order. So we'll go back to purchase and purchase orders, and you can see this purchase order is open. We didn't receive that bill against the line of the purchase order, therefore it didn't close the purchase order. However, our general ledger is correct. We have a credit to accounts payable and our debit to our travel expense account. We can just pay the bill, which will then debit accounts payable and credit cash. Everything's fine on the GL, but my purchase order is still sitting open. So back on our agenda, our next step then is simply to close the purchase order line. So let's go ahead and go into Acumatica and do that. So let's go into the purchase order. And if we look at the line, we scroll to the right, you'll see a series of check boxes that usually automatically get checked for completed, canceled, or closed. So all I'm going to do here is check the box to say closed, and that's going to tell the purchase order that I've closed that line, and since that's the only line on the purchase order, you can see the status become closed. So I'll just save that. And when I go back to the purchase orders, you'll see that the purchase order is now closed. So everything's copacetic. Our general ledger is correct. Our accounts payable is correct. We're just going to go ahead and pay the vendor for this bill. We don't have to process the bill against the line of the PO if we don't want to. It's better that you do in the first pass rather than making 2 steps here, but it's perfectly fine. So to review, our scenario is that we created a purchase order for a non-stock item. The item does not allow receipts, so we entered the bill in accounts payable, but we don't associate the bill to the line of the purchase order, but the purchase order still has an open status. To close the purchase order, we just simply check the box on the line and it closes the purchase order. Thank you very much for your time today. Please subscribe to our channel. You can also find their user group on LinkedIn, and then you can contact us at NIMS & Associates at erp@nimsassociates.com or call us at 877-454-3200, extension 6346. Thank you.